Hey folks, Daily Landsblog for May the 7th, 2018. And I tweeted, I guess yesterday, I tweeted something out that said, I get asked all the time when I'm speaking this basic fundamental question. And it wasn't until yesterday that I was thinking about it that I realized, it really is a more important question than it sounds because it sounds so basic. Are you ready for a case? Mm-hmm. What is depression? Now, I don't hear that when I'm around adults because adults, I think, have this insecurity and this fear that they'll be perceived as being ignorant or not knowledgeable on something. But kids, ask questions without thinking too much, which is a great thing. What is depression? And I realize that a lot of people don't know what it is. And by definition, if you've never suffered from it, it's next to impossible to understand it. So here we have this enormous fight to get people to accept mental illness as being no different than a physical illness, yet in so many ways, people don't understand it. I've never really answered that question appropriately. So ask me, Case, what is depression?
What is depression?
Well, that's a pretty stupid question. What is depression? Now, I have to frame it by saying this, that it's a great question. And in fact, if you've never suffered from it, that's a question that you should be asking because you can't really understand it. You need clarification. So thanks for asking that, Case. And my definition of depression is incomplete. And I tweeted that the definition of depression for me is the inability to experience joy. You have heard me say that before. And I went on to say that an example for people who can't understand that would be, or an analogy would be when you have a cold and you can't taste anything. And then you go to eat a food that you really like and you go, well, I don't taste it. Does that mean the food's not good anymore? Of course not. Does that mean you don't like the food anymore? Of course not. It's that you have lost the temporary ability to experience taste. That is what depression is, but it's way more than that. That's at its core. I have spoken to, as I've mentioned, thousands of people, and not one of them has ever disagreed that that is a fundamental part of depression, the inability to experience joy. But there's a million other things that can go with depression. And I got an email from my friend, Dr. Z, who said, well, yeah, I agree with that, but there's also a lot more that she has experienced. So I realized that my definition for depression is very basic. And I think it needs to be framed this way. Here's one thing about depression that we all experience. There's many other symptoms that many of us can have, but we all experience this one, the loss of the ability to experience joy. SIckNotWeak.com, 24 hours a day, 364 days a year. We got to get that word out there because we want people to understand us, but if they don't understand what we're suffering from, how can they possibly take the next step?